Mia worked long, hard hours at the little roadside diner, a modest haven tucked away off a busy highway where weary travelers stopped for a warm meal before continuing on their journeys. At 28, she bore the weight of two lives, her own and that of her spirited 6-year-old son, Jordan. Every tip and paycheck was a lifeline, keeping their modest apartment intact and covering Jordan's growing list of school supplies and necessities. For Mia, the diner was not merely a workplace, it was the heart of her everyday struggle and hope. On a cool evening near 7 p.m., as the dinner rush eased into a gentle lull and the neon sign outside blended with the fading daylight, Mia moved gracefully between tables. Her polished apron and warm smile shielded her inner exhaustion and the relentless burden of responsibility. Regular customers knew bits of her story, the quiet resilience in the way she managed every order, every interaction, without ever asking for pity. Life had taught her early that the world was unyielding, and the only option was to keep pushing forward no matter how heavy the load. That evening, as Mia glanced up at the clock above the diner's counter, the familiar jingle of the doorbell drew her attention. Expecting another tired traveler, she looked up, and there he was, Clint Eastwood. Dressed simply in a button-up shirt, faded jeans, and a hat pulled low over his weathered eyes, Clint carried an air of quiet determination. To most, Clint Eastwood was a Hollywood legend, an icon of old westerns and rugged heroism, but for Mia, he was also a bittersweet reminder of the stories her late father had once cherished. Clint walked with deliberate calm toward a corner booth, settling into the worn leather seat as if he belonged there among everyday folk. Mia's heart skipped a beat as she approached his table with her notepad and pen, determined to deliver impeccable service. "Good evening," she said in a steady, polite tone. "What can I get started for you tonight?" Without hesitation, Clint replied in his low, measured voice, "Just a coffee and a burger, medium rare, no onions." His eyes, partially hidden by the brim of his hat, held a quiet intensity that made Mia's hands tremble as she quickly scribbled down his order. In that brief exchange, it was as though time slowed. The clamor of the diner faded into a hushed background, leaving only the sound of her heartbeat. Back at the counter, Mia relayed his order to the kitchen. As she returned to Clint's booth with a plate of food and a chipped glass of coffee, his appreciative nod and a brief, kind smile lifted a part of her tired spirit. "Thank you," he said simply, his tone carrying a warmth that resonated deep within her. "You're welcome," she replied softly, though his words lingered in her mind long after she resumed her duties. Throughout the rest of the evening, while the diner buzzed with low conversations and the clinking of dishes, Mia found herself stealing frequent glances toward Clint's table. There he sat, methodically sipping his coffee and lost in his own thoughts, almost as if he were savoring not just the flavor of the drink, but the very atmosphere of the humble diner. Despite his fame and the comforts he surely enjoyed elsewhere, Clint had chosen this modest spot, making Mia wonder what had drawn him here. As the night wore on, the diner gradually quieted. Soft music from the jukebox filled the background, and the steady hum of conversation became a gentle murmur. It was then that Clint motioned with a slight raise of his hand. With a mixture of nervous anticipation and professional resolve, Mia wiped her hands on her apron and returned to his table. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice barely concealing her curiosity. "Perfect," Clint replied, his smile small yet sincere. "That burger was one of the best I've had in a long time." His compliment, though simple, struck a deep chord within her. For a brief moment, the busy world outside the booth ceased to exist, leaving only the quiet intimacy of their exchange. Before Mia could speak further, Clint reached into his pocket and, with deliberate calm, produced a few bills along with a neatly folded piece of paper. He placed them on the table. "Keep the change," he said in a low, deliberate tone, and then added, "and read this when you have a moment." Without waiting for a response, he stood and walked toward the door, leaving behind an air of mystery and a trail of unanswered questions. For a long moment after he left, Mia stood silently beside his booth, staring at the folded note in her trembling hand. The diner's lively rhythm slowly resumed, but in her mind time had momentarily stalled. Who was he, really? Why had someone like Clint Eastwood taken the time to notice her, the hardworking waitress who had spent years keeping her family afloat? Later that evening, once the last of the customers had departed and the soft strains of the jukebox filled the near-empty diner, Mia slipped into the back room. In the quiet solitude of that cramped space, she carefully unfolded the note and began to read. The note was written in neat, thoughtful handwriting. "Dear Mia, I don't know much about you, but in the short time I've observed you, I've witnessed a strength and grace that is truly rare. You handle every challenge with dignity, a quality that reminds me of someone very dear, someone who taught me the value of hard work and kindness. I may not know your full story, but I see in your eyes the weight of your struggles and the light of determination that refuses to fade. Because of this, I want to offer you a gift with no strings attached. Use it as you see fit, whether it eases your burdens, helps build your future, or grants you a moment of peace. People like you deserve to be seen. I see you and I appreciate you. With respect, Clint." Mia's heart pounded as she reached the final lines. Beneath the words, she discovered a check for $10,000. The reality of the gift made her breath catch. It was not merely money, but a profound validation of every silent struggle and every moment of perseverance. Tears welled in her eyes as she clutched the note and check, overwhelmed by gratitude, disbelief, and the tantalizing promise of a fresh start. In the days that followed, Mia's world began to shift in unexpected ways. The check provided immediate relief, overdue bills were paid, and pressing expenses were met, but its impact reached far deeper. Encouraged by her best friend Tasha, Mia enrolled in community college to study accounting, a long-held dream that now seemed within reach. The idea of returning to school filled her with both nervous excitement and a renewed sense of purpose. Every lecture and every assignment represented a step toward a brighter future for her and Jordan. Word of Mia's life-changing encounters slowly spread throughout the community. Regular customers and friends alike marveled at the transformation in her demeanor, a newfound brightness in her smile and a confident stride that belied her past hardships. Tasha often reminded her, "You work harder than anyone I know. You deserve this, and now you have the chance to pay it forward." Inspired by Clint's gesture, Mia began setting aside a portion of her newfound resources to help others, supporting struggling single parents and underprivileged students, sharing the kindness that had once lifted her up. Over time, the diner became more than just a place of work for Mia. It evolved into a symbol of hope and resilience. Every shift was imbued with the memory of that fateful night, the note, the check, and the quiet promise that someone had seen her worth. Although Clint Eastwood never returned, his brief encounter had ignited a spark that transformed Mia's life. The legacy of that single moment was now woven into her everyday actions, a constant reminder that extraordinary kindness can emerge from the most ordinary places. Late one evening, after closing the diner and once again sitting alone at her small kitchen table, Mia stared at the folded note and check. The soft glow of the table lamp illuminated the documents as she reflected on her journey. The hardships, the long hours, and the sacrifices suddenly seemed less insurmountable in the light of the opportunity before her. In that quiet moment, Mia allowed herself to dream boldly of a future where she could not only secure a better life for herself and Jordan, but also create lasting change for others. With renewed determination, she began drafting plans for the future, investing in her education, establishing a small community fund, and perhaps even starting a program to support other hardworking individuals who often felt invisible. Each idea was a spark of hope, a testament to the belief that with kindness and perseverance, life could be rewritten. As the months passed, Mia's transformation continued. Balancing long shifts at the diner with evening classes, she embraced every challenge with courage. Jordan's eyes shone with pride as he told his friends, "My mom's going to college." Their modest apartment, once a symbol of struggle, now brimmed with the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And every day, as Mia greeted customers with her signature warm smile, she carried the memory of that life-altering night, a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple outward, changing lives in ways unimaginable. Mia's story, born from an ordinary night at a humble diner, became a beacon of hope and resilience, a living testament to the transformative power of compassion. Though Clint Eastwood's visit was brief, its impact would resonate through her life forever, inspiring her to lift others as she herself had been lifted.